Hi everyone, it's Easter 2020, and because partly because we're socially distanced, and partly because a bunch of my friends from Westminster Chapel encouraged me to do it, I wanted to post a quick video, hashtag how Jesus changed my life, just telling the quick story about how Jesus changed my life. So it starts back when I was pretty little. I don't remember how old, but I think from birth, although I can't remember it. My mom and my sister and my dad as well. They told me the story of the gospel. They taught me about God who created the world and Adam who fell, and that I was a sinful person, and my conscience agreed with everything they told me. So even at a very young, very simplistic, in a simplistic way, I prayed a sinner's prayer, as it's known, and I said, "Jesus, I'm sinful. Please come into my heart and live with me." Um, and uh, and I remember being excited. I went to sleep and I went and told my parents the next day about this, and uh, I guess there wasn't a huge transformation in my life at that point because I was little, or at least maybe it's hard to remember. But I remember always wanting to be, um, not always wanting to be, but I was in, I always went to a Christian school, and so it was always familiar and comfortable to be around people who believed in God. And so I guess my faith wasn't really challenged when I was young. It was later in my teen years I stopped going. I wasn't going to church as regularly, or if I had homework or something, I would just stop going. Um, and then university, definitely my views and beliefs were challenged, and you start learning. You hear new things that, um, uh, like by different religions or different believers, and anything new I found sounded really interesting and engaging, and it was like, oh, I'd never heard that before, so um, that must be right or true, or that what like if why do I believe what I believe if there's these ideas that I'd never heard before. And I got to the point where I was so somebody asked me at university if I was a Christian, and I didn't answer, partly because I was embarrassed, partly because I didn't know what to say, and that it was really impactful that I didn't know what to say, and so I felt like I completely lost my something that was so much a part of my life, and I was so much identified with, and so it just set me on a new course to I wanted to answer questions for myself and really start to understand, like, what do I believe, like what is humanity, like what are humans, are we just noble creatures? I didn't think in those terms at the time, but um, like what is like noble, what's that even mean? What I didn't have the right questions at the time, but um, I found people who asked good questions, and at least questions I thought were good. And then I started answering questions. I started getting answers that agreed with reality as I come to know it at like still a young, naive age, 20, and and so slowly I started fleshing out an understanding of my own beliefs, which are um, not different from what my mom and sister taught me. They were just more developed and are still developing. And there's so much that it's like the more you the more you know, the more you realize how high some philosophical and religious ideas are, that you just, it's like, you feel like you answer one question and you just see a whole new range of um, questions and mountains to climb. But fundamentally, I think one of the most important um, things that I think when I hear the hashtag or the question, it's like, how Jesus has changed your life. Well, fundamentally, when I put my faith in something and it defines how I see the world, and I say put my faith in it. I have faith, but anyway, I won't get into that. But it changes how I see the world and how I act. My faith and my understanding of what's true and right and beautiful, it's impossible to separate that from how you act, because how you act is based on what you really think and believe. And so you're trying to live and bring those two things into union and integration. I mean, that's really the challenge in the journey. So how Jesus changed my life was by setting a standard and affirming the standard that came through the Jewish scriptures and the biblical record that followed Jesus' resurrection. And by bearing witness to those standards, it gave me a basis of right and wrong and true and good and beautiful outside of myself, outside of just what I wanted and what was good and what felt good to me. And that's how I lived before. And that's how I still live some of the time. So, it's a constant, try not to say journey because I find that such a cliche, but it's something. It's something. So, yeah, Jesus changed my life by completely reordering the way I see the world. Not in one instant, but as I've come to know Him more through studying the scriptures and the testimony of a couple thousand years of church history that we have to pull on. So, anyway, it's Easter 2020. I'm encouraged by the videos I've seen, and I hope this is an encouragement to someone. So if it is, feel free to let me know. And if you have any questions about anything, I love talking about religion and faith and everything. So drop me a line. Happy Resurrection Sunday 2020. Stay safe. Bye-bye.